Godzilla Island was a short-form Japanese Godzilla spin-off that aired from October 1997 to September 1998. It ran for 253 episodes, each around 3 minutes long. They were aimed at kids and they aired on weekday mornings in Japan only. The show was produced by Toho and Tsuburaya. It was directed by Shun Mizutani and written by Takahiko Masuda and Akio Nanki. Jiro Dan from Ultraman starred as the G-Guard commander, joined by Maimi Okuwa as the alien Torema, Kaori Aso as Misato Jinguji, and Kaori Aizawa as the villain Zagres. The show existed to keep the Godzilla brand alive, while Toho paused the film series after Godzilla vs. Destoroyah in 1995 to make room for the upcoming 1998 Hollywood film. With almost no budget whatsoever, the series portrayed its monsters using off-the-shelf consumer-grade Bandai vinyl figures. They moved them around on major sets, and it was a cost-saving measure and a marketing tool, since it essentially served two functions. One, it's a kid's show, and two, it's a toy commercial in the same vein as Transformers or G.I. Joe. Despite its limitations, Godzilla Island managed to include nearly every kaiju in the franchise's history up to that point. On top of those, you also got new or repainted variants like Firefighter Jet Jaguar, Hyper Mecha-King Ghidorah, and Neo Hedorah. The crew even kit-bashed toys to invent originals like Gororan or Dororan and a mini-Dogora. So, what the hell is this show even about? Well, Godzilla Island takes place in the year 2097, when Earth's kaiju have been relocated to a peaceful sanctuary in the South Pacific. Essentially, it's just destroy all monsters, where humanity watches over them through the organization G-Guard, commanded by the gentle but weary Jinguji, whose only companion is a floating robot assistant named Lucas. It kind of feels like something out of Mystery Science Theater 3000, where you get these monster scenes and he sort of just watches on and observes with a robot. For a long while, life on the island is quiet, but it's just a calm before the storm, and that calm ends abruptly when a massive UFO appears in the sky. The invaders are the Exilians, led by a woman named Zagres, who serves a cosmic overlord known as the Giant Dark Emperor. Their plan is to conquer Earth, beginning with the capture of Godzilla Island and its inhabitants. During the first assault, a smaller ship intervenes to defend the island, and its pilot, a young warrior named Torema. She reveals that she is from a planet already destroyed by the Emperor's armies, and vows to help Earth avoid the same fate. From this point on, the kids' show becomes a serialized war between the aliens and the Earth defenders. It's a rotating cycle of invasions, new monsters, and temporary alliances that last across 2 full seasons. The early arcs establish the main dynamic of the show, where Zagres will summon a random monster who is being mind-controlled by the Exilians, and then Godzilla has to fight them. The first one of which is SpaceGodzilla, who ends up getting his crystal core shattered and he's driven off. Zagres retaliates with King Ghidorah, prompting a massive alliance of monsters led by Mothra, who rallies the island's defenders. The battles grow increasingly personal as Godzilla is later framed for destruction he didn't cause, forcing the humans to put him on trial and prove his innocence and restore trust. When the aliens kidnap Godzilla Jr., the rescue mission deepens the bond between humans and kaiju. The mid-season stories revolve around classic adversaries like Gigan, Mecha-King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla, each appearing as the Exilians' next weapon in their campaign to seize control. In between all the heavy action, though, there are smaller arcs that explore mysteries on the island, like strange energy readings, ancient relics, or supernatural forces like Dogora and the ghost of SpaceGodzilla, whose spirit possesses Godzilla until King Caesar performs an exorcism. As the first season concludes, the fighting reaches a breaking point. The alien forces crumble, and Torema leads a final assault that drives the aliens back into space, but her victory comes at a cost. With her mission complete, she decides to leave the island to continue her war elsewhere. The show treats her departure as a farewell to an era, ending the first season on a surprisingly emotional note. The second season begins by introducing Misato, the commander's daughter, no relation to Evangelion, thank God. She joins G-Guard to fill the gap that Torema left behind. Her arrival coincides with the emergence of a new villain named Landis, who resumes the invasion with even deadlier monsters. Around this time, new generations of creatures appear, like Mothra's offspring, and this gives rise cameos to Mothra Leo and other returning kaiju like Anguirus and Rodan. As the war builds toward its finale, the heroes uncover the hidden secret of G Island, revealing an ancient battleship called the Gotengo buried beneath the island. This discovery arms them for the endgame. Zagres is resurrected, the giant Dark Emperor finally appears, and the galaxy-spanning conflict reaches Earth's shores once more. Even Torema returns for one last stand, teaming up with Misato and the monsters as the Gotengo launches against the Emperor's forces. But betrayals erupt within the alien ranks. Zagres defies her master, and the Emperor's ultimate weapon self-destructs. Godzilla, revived for the final fight, joins his allies for a decisive victory. The final episode is called Goodbye Godzilla Island, and it closes on a note of relief and reflection with the island's defenders watching peace return after years of chaos. Taken as a whole, Godzilla Island is fucking awesome. It is such a weird and bizarre show when compared to the rest of the franchise. I mean, this is a series of films known for pushing the boundaries of what was possible with suitmation, practical effects, and miniatures. To go from that to this is genuinely insane, and you might be expecting me to go into how the Monster of the Week format is repetitive and how I hate the series, but I love it. I love Godzilla Island, and I think it's a phenomenal piece of Godzilla media that is criminally underrated. Yes, I'm dead serious. Beyond the story and everything else, what I think really makes it work so well is that it captures something deeply nostalgic. It's the feeling of being a kid surrounded by Godzilla toys, inventing stories that make no logical sense but feel limitless in imagination. Every arc feels like it was born out of that exact kind of childhood play, with a structure that's as chaotic as it is inspired. The show doesn't really care too much about realism or even consistency, but that's because it's being driven by pure enthusiasm for the kaiju universe. And that's what makes it so refreshing. These are stories that could never be realized in live action without a billion-dollar budget. In fact, some of the arcs are so packed with monsters and wild ideas that even a modern animated series would struggle to pull them off. There's a certain freedom in that. It's like the creators decided that if they couldn't compete with Toho's film productions, they would outdo them in sheer imagination. One of my favorite things about Godzilla Island is how it gives depth and personality to monsters who were little more than background players in prior movies. Characters like Jet Jaguar and King Caesar actually get meaningful screen time and arcs that explore who they are beyond just being Godzilla's tag team partners. You start to see sides of these creatures that the films never had time to show. The proof is right here on the Godzilla Wiki. Half of the established lore for these characters comes from Godzilla Island. It is wild to think that a toy-based kids show contributed more to the franchise's character development than several feature films. And while it might not get the credit it deserves, Godzilla Island's influence is undeniable. Look at how many fan projects, stop-motion shorts, and YouTube series exist today using off-the-shelf Bandai figures to tell new stories. Channels like Monster Island Buddies owe a clear debt to this show's tone and format. In a way, Godzilla Island predicted the kind of fan-driven storytelling that would later dominate the internet. It turned limited resources into a creative playground, proving that love for the material can go a lot further than production value. Outside of what I like to call the Toymation style, Godzilla Island feels like a full-on love letter to the Showa era of Godzilla. Everything about it, from the tone to the visual language, and even the pacing, feels like it was designed by people who grew up watching the 60s and 70s films and wanted to recreate that atmosphere for a new generation. The series leans heavily into the bright, playful aesthetic of that period. It channels the same campy charm that you'd find in Son of Godzilla or Godzilla vs. Megalon, mixed with a healthy dose of Ultraman-style absurdity. What makes that approach work so well is that Godzilla Island doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. It's unapologetically a kid-friendly throwback. There's never any attempt to deconstruct or modernize the monsters in self-serious storytelling. It just commits to being pure, unfiltered fun. On top of that too, the low-budget sets and the bright studio lighting and the wildly exaggerated performances all blend into something that feels strangely authentic to that era. Instead of working against the limitations, the show embraces them, turning them into part of its identity. You can tell everyone involved knew exactly what kind of show they were making, and they leaned into it with complete sincerity. That sense of enthusiasm is just so contagious. While watching, you can practically feel the joy behind the production. The cast and crew seem like they're just having a blast making this, and that energy bleeds into the viewing experience. Like, there are moments where an episode will just grind to a halt so that they can just have a Godzilla dance party with the other monsters, and it's wonderful. It's goofy, it's endearing, and I think it really defines what this show is. It's the perfect throwback to the 60s and the 70s, where humor mattered more than scale or realism. You can't help but smile at how earnestly it celebrates the weirdest and most delightful parts of the Godzilla mythos that are often overlooked for the sake of making a joke. Now, if I have one real gripe with Godzilla Island, it's how long it took Toho to finally make the series accessible outside of Japan. For decades, this show was practically a ghost. Western fans could only experience it through grainy pirated uploads, sketchy bootleg DVDs, or the occasional clip that managed to slip onto YouTube. That inaccessibility created a very odd gap in Godzilla's global history. I mean, an entire official production that most fans outside of Japan had no way of watching this. It's frustrating too, because Godzilla Island could have filled a unique space in the international fandom. It's lighthearted, it's episodic, it has a great story, it's visually distinct. It's the kind of thing that easily could have run on kids' programming blocks or aired alongside other niche imports in the late 90s and early 2000s. As long as they dubbed it, of course, which they never did. There's no dub for this, it's all subtitled. The real problem isn't the show itself. It's Toho's long-standing inability to properly market and distribute Godzilla content outside of Japan.
Only in Japan, only in Japan.
They've always been that way, though, and this could be a topic for a whole other day, with them sitting on projects or mishandling releases until their cultural momentum has long faded. Godzilla Island became a casualty of that very approach. It was a show that could have built younger audiences during a transitional era for the franchise, but instead became a piece of trivia whispered about in fan circles. By the time Toho finally uploaded subtitled episodes to their official YouTube channel in 2023, the series had already lived most of its life as a curiosity shared on forums and fan archives. It just sucks, man. I know that I would have adored this show as a kid. It's colorful, it's simple, and jam-packed with monsters. It represents everything that used to make televised tokusatsu fun and accessible, but because Toho kept it locked away for so long, my first real viewing experience didn't happen until I was an adult, years after its cultural moment had passed. Again, that's not the fault of the show or the creators, who clearly poured effort and enthusiasm into making a show for children, but it does highlight how poorly the studio has handled its own legacy abroad. What really bothers me too is how little Godzilla Island is discussed today beyond surface level jokes like, oh yeah, that's the one where they used toys to make it. It's this weird kind of dismissal, and it ignores how much craftsmanship went into working within those constraints. The show may have used Bandai figures instead of suits, but it found inventive ways to bring them to life through miniature sets, puppetry, and really good editing. It's a labor of love, and it's not a cash grab. It could have been, but they actually tried. You can feel that the people behind it cared deeply about keeping the franchise alive for a younger generation, even if the budget was microscopic. And I really do think that sincerity alone deserves far more recognition than it's ever received. At the end of the day, Godzilla Island is not peak cinema by any stretch. It's not the standout of the Heisei era or even the best Godzilla TV show, but it's a charming side project that embraces its made-for-TV limitations. In an odd way, it managed to do something fairly significant. It actually kept Godzilla alive during a period where he was not in any movies. But I can't in good faith recommend this show to anyone who isn't already deep into the Godzilla fandom. If you showed this to someone who's unfamiliar with the series, they would probably call the police on you, thinking you're someone who broke out of an insane asylum. As a children's show, it's very endearing. It's packed with creativity, enthusiasm, and clear love for the franchise. So for younger viewers or hardcore fans who can really appreciate its sincerity, Godzilla Island is a very fun little curiosity worth checking out as a relic of a weird period in the history of the King of the Monsters. With all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. This is just one small part of my massive Godzilla retrospective project where I revisit and review every single Godzilla movie and TV show. Stay tuned because I'm currently editing the Godzilla vs. Biollante video, and that should be out sometime next month in November. Originally, I was going to release a short horror film today for Halloween, but that project needs more time to cook. Regardless, huge thank you to our channel members for supporting the channel. Your names are listed right up here on screen. For just $1.99 a month, you can get early access to all my videos, as well as exclusive members-only content, and even seeing your name featured in the credits of our original films and videos, just like this. It's an easy way to help keep these retrospectives and short films going, but whether you join or not, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.